Hello. My name is Diane McClure. I'm a registered nurse and I work here in Sacramento and I live in Land Park. I'm asking the City Council to pass a resolution in support of AB 1400, the California Guaranteed Health Care for All Act, and HR 1976, the Medicare for All Act of 2021. These two bills at the state and federal levels would guarantee high quality, comprehensive health care for all residents of California and the United States. Far too many Sacramentans are going without needed care due to cost, and numerous economic studies have shown that switching to a single-payer healthcare system would save money that we could use for other community needs. Every day, we nurses see the cost of our patients going without care or delaying care. It is critically important for people to get the care they need when they need it without barriers such as co-pays and deductibles. I have personally, as a nurse, seen patients turned down for surgery, even when doctors have deemed the procedures necessary. CalCare affirms healthcare as a human right by establishing a single-payer healthcare system that meets the needs of all Californians. Over 10 cities in California have already passed resolutions endorsing CalCare, including Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Oakland. By passing a resolution for CalCare and Medicare for All, you can play an important role in bringing our state and federal legislators on board with single-payer legislation. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Louise. Next speaker is Louise. Patricia Chadwick. Oh, God.
Are we back on?
I think we're on live, but we don't have everybody back in.
Okay. I thought it was my Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so for anyone who can hear us, you're not alone. It's all of us.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, it appears that Zoom crashed.
Yeah, it was all of us there. Yeah.
So, Mr. Merritt, it appeared that Zoom crashed. We're working to bring it back up.
Glad it wasn't personal. Okay, what you need a little bit more time, Madam Clerk?
I do. Let me confirm we have our quorum back online. Everyone got kicked out, including our members of the public.
Yep, let's make sure that we had what, at least 4 more public speakers.
You have a quorum, Madam Clerk. I don't see Vice Mayor Schenirer, but the rest I can see visibly.
But I guess we have to wait for the public here. Okay. I was going to try to go through the rest of the.
Mary, I have 7 hands raised to make public comment on the consent calendar. Would you like me to start?
Let's go. Yes, please.
Robert Copeland.
Hi, my name is Robert Copeland. I belong to Healthcare for All Sacramento Valley chapter. I'd like you to support the resolution on the agenda item 3 for the following reasons. 1, people are going bankrupt because of high healthcare costs. 2, they have people have to apply for GoFundMe to pay for their healthcare. 3, people cannot get needed medication because the insurance company turns them down. And that happened to me more than one time. And my last point, a couple more points is, I heard San Jose just passed their resolution today. And when this passes Sacramento City Council, can you use your influence over at the Capitol to get the state legislators to support AB 1400? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Patricia Chadwick.
Hi, I'm Patricia Chadwick. I'm a web developer and I live in the Midtown District of Sacramento. I'm asking the council to pass a resolution in support of CalCare AB 1400 and Medicare for All, HR 1976. This is not a new issue. My ancestors have been fighting for universal single-payer healthcare for at least a couple generations, and I'm determined that it get passed in my generation. A Medicare for All system would help eliminate disparities in healthcare. I had a friend who died, I'm going to say was murdered, because her health insurance company denied her the medication she needed, saying it was too expensive. The CEO of that same insurance company got $17 million in compensation that same year. This is criminal. Medicare for All and CalCare would redirect money from the huge profits of health insurance companies to actual care for everyone. Many other cities have passed these resolutions. This is one important step in getting better healthcare for all. And I want to thank Katie Valenzuela for adding this resolution and Mai Vang for your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Jenny Osgood.
Hello, my name is Jenny Osgood. I live in the Pocket area in Sacramento, And I'm asking the City Council to pass a resolution in support of CalCare AB 1400, the California Guaranteed Healthcare for All Act, and to also support HR 1976, the Medicare for All Act of 2021. Both of these bills at the state and federal level will guarantee high quality, comprehensive healthcare for all residents of California and the US. And I asked Sacramento to join the other cities that have already passed resolutions endorsing CalCare, including Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Oakland. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker is Daniel Savala.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Daniel Savala, Executive Director of El Paso Boulevard Partnership. Calling in tonight just to make comment on item number 4, your Measure U annual report. 2 very critical items for neighborhoods like El Paso Boulevard and North Sacramento: the community ordinance policing, additional officers, and code enforcement. I would like to see in the audit phase of the Measure U where some of these additional resources are, I guess, are being sent out to. Extremely grateful for the City of Sacramento and Measure U and the additional staff, and recognize and respect the amount of time it takes to staff up. But we would like at the end of the day to be able to take a look at where these additional resources are going and make sure that they're equally distributed throughout the city. And particularly, we want to make sure that they're being used and utilized here in North Sacramento and along Del Paso Boulevard. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker is Patricia Johnson.
Hello, my name is Patricia Johnson, and I'm an RN. I live in District 4 downtown, and I sent in an e-comment. So I'm asking the council to please support the resolution in support of Medicare for All. I think it is financially wise and it's the compassionate thing to do. to provide health care to everyone, regardless of ability to pay. And I think even state workers, government workers for the county, and I don't know about the city, but Sacramento County doesn't even provide any employee retiree health care benefits. And also I know state workers that have gone bankrupt, that have continued working and died on the job. Well, not in their office, but at the time that they were actively working full time. And also, people get burdened with all these expenses still. And I think our system is insane. It's inhumane. It's costly. And I really see a lot of people that are living on the streets. I'm an avid bicyclist and I see them every day. And it just breaks my heart to see all these people that don't have access to medical care or medications. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Louise.
Thank you. Good evening. And thank you for allowing me this time to speak also in favor of item 3, the resolution in support of CalCare and Medicare for All. My name is Louise Mailer. I'm a retired epidemiologist and live in Sacramento's 5th district. I've long supported a single-payer model for health care because it improves quality and availability of care and saves money besides. Our existing fragmented system grows ever more costly. More and more people have to choose between medical needs and other essentials. No matter how they resolve the dilemma, it eventually limits their participation in society and the economy. Such limitations increase the need for social programs, add to shared costs, and ultimately to the burden on taxpayers. I urge you all to support the resolution in support of CalCare, AB 1400, and Medicare for All, HR 1976, and move us along towards this necessary transition. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is phone number, last 4 digits, 4366. Phone number with last 4 digits, 4366.
Hello, yes, this is Lambert of To the Bay and Back Cheesecakes, commenting on number 4. Anytime I hear Measure U monies, which I voted for twice, and I went to many outreach meetings behind Measure U. I thought that was a great pitch by the mayor twice, and I wanted to go on record and say that that money never got to our family. Now, about 3 weeks ago, the city manager made a statement to the mayor and the city council that he sent a letter to them about why the Davis family was not funded. The only problem is the family that filled out the paperwork never received a copy of that. That's a violation of the Brown Act and is stonewalling 101. I am asking my city councilman, Mr. Loloee, and any of the other city council people, and even the mayor, I like his staff too, that if we can't receive something from the city manager, would somebody send us a copy of what he said he sent to you? Because when you fill out paperwork, you want to be kept in the loop. And according to the millennials in my life, they told me that's a simple process of an e-blast. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker is Corinne McIntosh. Corinne McIntosh Seiko.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name is Dr. Corinne McIntosh Sacco. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist in independent practice. I'm a community mental health advocate and a resident of District 7. I'm calling in regards to consent item 18. Joseph Mann was a 51-year-old individual with a history of mental illness that was experiencing homelessness. In July 2016, when Mr. Mann did not comply with officers' loudspeaker commands, officers intentionally tried to hit Mr. Mann with their patrol vehicle, stating, "We'll get him." These same officers then exited the vehicle and pursued Mr. Mann on foot. These SAC police officers fired 18 shots, with 14 of those bullets hitting Mr. Mann's body. The officers stated that they considered Mr. Mann a threat to them and to the community. Yes, Mr. Mann was found to have a knife with a 3.5-inch blade. However, police never found a gun. An investigation found the officers had acted lawfully in the shooting, but both officers have since left the department. And as you know, in 2017, the city of Sacramento agreed to pay Mr. Mann's father a settlement for $719,000. And now the city's attorney's office is requesting an amount not to exceed nearly $500,000 to execute an agreement to retain legal services to strongly represent and defend the city's interest in this lawsuit that's come from Mr. Mann's siblings. They had previously been barred from filing suit against the city until a decision in 2020 from the Ninth Circuit Federal Court of Appeals said their case can proceed. When someone loses a loved one, that person is injured and should have a right to justice in federal court. Instead of handing over nearly $500,000 to a legal firm, why don't you consider giving that money to Mr. Mann's siblings? The city must take accountability for the actions of those it sanctions, such as Sacramento PD.
Thank you for your comments. Your time is complete. Will you make your final comment, please?
If Mr. Mann had...
Next speaker is Philip Kim.
Hi, my name is Philip Kim. I live in District 4, Southland Park. I'm a community organizer with the California Nurses Association, and I'd like to thank Councilmember Valenzuela for introducing the resolution in support of CalCare AB 1400 and Medicare for All HR 1976. This is item 3. Also, thank you to Councilmember Vang and Mayor Steinberg for your support on this issue. We are nearing the 2-year mark of a deadly pandemic that has killed over 778,000 people and counting. And while millions of people can't afford health care in California, the insurance companies and other healthcare corporations are continuing to make billions in profits. United Health reported $4.1 billion in profit in the third quarter of 2021, an increase of nearly $1 billion compared to last year. Insurance companies' profits are up because many insured people are still deferring care due to the pandemic. This is a perverse business model where the less insurance companies spend on actual health care, the more money goes into their pockets. CalCare and Medicare for All would finally guarantee health care as a human right in California and the United States, respectively. Both bills would create a single public program to guarantee high quality, fully comprehensive health care for every California resident with the freedom to choose your care provider. The city of Sacramento can play a really important role in getting our federal and state legislators on board with these bills. So I urge you to pass the resolution, and beyond that, to please use your personal and official connections to persuade our legislators to support CalCare and Medicare for All. I'll say that Assemblymember Kevin McCarty is a co-author, so thank him for being a co-author, but all the others still need to get on board. Thank you.
The last speaker on the consent calendar is a phone number, last 4 digits 5436.
Hello, my name is Shirley Toy. I've lived in District 4 or 5 most of my life. I'm a registered nurse of 40 years, and our current system is a broken burden on every city resident and our national, state, and local economy. Most of us, or all of us, even if you have good insurance, we're one illness away from bankruptcy. Medical debt is the #1 problem, reason for bankruptcy, and most of those people had health insurance. We do not want health insurance. We need health care, because when your insurance, your coverage is tied to your work, you get sick, you can't work, you lose your coverage. And the insurance has an incentive to deny care all the time. We need you to show strong leadership that you believe healthcare is a human right for all of your constituents. AB 1400 would save lives and save money. If you truly value all city residents, we need you to stand up for those values and send a strong message to our state representatives in support of AB 1400 and HR 1976. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comments. Mayor, I have no more speakers on the consent calendar.
All right, thank you very much. Councilmember Harris, why don't you make your comment on item 2, then we'll vote on the consent calendar other than item 3 and talk about that item separately. Jeff, you're on mute.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate that. Once again, before you is a resolution to dedicate a portion of Sacramento to be known as the historic Little Italy District. I'm very proud of that accomplishment, and I appreciate the support that you've already brought forward. This is really just ministerial, but there was one glitch in the staff report in that the map that delineates the district, I think, is incorrect. So I would like to ask staff to revisit the map. In the resolution, we talked about the boundaries from 46th to 59th and J to Folsom. And in the map, it shows an extension to Elvis Avenue and encompassing St. Francis High School, which I'm fine with, but I need to be assured that St. Francis has chosen to be incorporated in the historic Little Italy District. So if staff can please clear that up by contacting the administration of St. Francis High School, I think that we've got a winning resolution here. Thank you, Mayor. That's it.
Thank you very much. I do want to ask before we get to vote on the calendar about item 18. I do want to ask the city attorney the specific purpose of the allocation here or the request, please.
Yes, Mayor and Council, this item is just to retain counsel since, as you know, the city did already enter into a settlement with the Mann family, and the decision to allow the siblings to now have a cause of action is a novel one, and it's been appealed now to the Ninth Circuit, and so the city continues to have an obligation to defend this action. And so I will say that the law firm that the city retains is an excellent firm. It's done a lot of work for us, and they're incredibly reasonable rates. And so it's certainly not a position we wanted to be in, but we do have to defend ourselves.
Yeah. And I understand that's the obligation. I know that the community and I and many have very strong feelings about that particular shooting. And we're beyond all the confidentiality provisions. A lot of that, we know that one of the officers, well, the officers are gone, and rightfully. And so we have to defend our legal position. I do understand that. Depending on what happens, if we are engaged in an active lawsuit and the right to sue is upheld, and I don't know that it will or won't be, I just hope that we will engage in constructive discussions with the family.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. Let's call the roll, please, on the consent calendar other than item 3.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Ashby?
Yes.
Councilmember Loloee?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
Aye.
Councilmember Valenzuela?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schenirer?
Aye.
Councilmember Guerra?
Aye.
Councilmember Jennings?
Yes.
Councilmember Vang?
Yes.
And Mayor Steinberg?
Yes. All right. Thank you very much. That passes unanimously. Let's now talk about item 3. I know Councilmember Harris, you wanted to speak. I'm going to ask Councilmember Valenzuela to start because I believe she brought the resolution forward, and then I'll turn to you.
That's fine, Mayor. It's probably many people will care to speak on this item, and
yeah, I'm going
to defer.
I'm going to speak as well, but why don't you raise your hand, council members, if you want to speak here, so that I can do a better job of calling on you. Okay, Councilmember Valenzuela.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, colleagues, for considering this item in front of us today. You know, as a quick sidebar here, I got a chance to do a ride-along with the Sacramento Fire Department the weekend before last, 24-hour ride-along. Highly recommend for those of you who haven't done the full night experience. It's pretty interesting, and I learned a lot. And I want to do a quick shout out to Local 522 for setting that up. But, you know, I spent a lot of time out with the Station 2 medic teams, and what I really appreciate, one of the lessons that I took from that experience is how our fire department really functions as frontline healthcare healthcare in our city. They see it all. They see the lack of preventative care. They see the social constructs and social issues that are leading to acute and long-term health challenges. They are the front line of defense when it comes to every medical need. Every time we don't know what to do, every time something happens, 911 is who they call and the fire department is who shows up. So, for me, this is also in our capacity, in addition to just as stewards of the community and people who want what's best of the community, this is also in our capacity as a frontline healthcare provider, as an organization who oversees that function for our city. And imagine how much that will change. Imagine how much the well-being of our community will change. Imagine how much better our economy will be, our neighborhoods, our schools, our businesses, if we had Medicare as medical care as a human right and not as a privilege. I'm someone that you may have heard me say before who has struggled for many points in my career to have access to affordable care, who often put off care or denied care because I couldn't afford it, who put things on credit cards, who did long-term payment plans for the things that I just had to do and figure it out, maxed out credit cards. In fact, just trying to get medication I need every day to breathe. So, for me and for all of the people in our cities, so many of whom in this pandemic lost their health care when they lost their work, this is a critical issue for our communities and our well-being. And as so many callers said, it's the cost-effective choice. It's the choice that our communities want overwhelmingly. So I really hope and encourage an aye vote on this resolution, and really want to recognize the nurses, DSA Sacramento, all of the organizations that have been pushing for this. And I really hope that we can work together to get this across the finish line finally this year. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, Councilmember Harris, who is next. I see Councilmember Vang. Then I'll speak, I guess, if I don't see anybody else. Okay. Go ahead, Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The idea of single payer healthcare has been brought up in our country for quite a few years. We had the Affordable Care Act that was going pretty well for a long time under the Obama administration. And then the Trump administration really caused a lot of ripples, caused a lot of people to get bumped from healthcare, and it's been a big problem. This resolution, to me, is maybe a little premature, and I say that for this reason. And I'd like to ask Consuelo Hernandez a couple of questions. Consuelo, are you online?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, so this particular resolution, it's really not in our legislative platform, the whole idea of single payer, is it?
No, we don't address single payer in our legislative platform.
And as far as HR 1400, it's been sitting in the legislature for quite a while, yeah?
It was introduced at the beginning of the year, but has not yet had a committee hearing.
Okay, so it hasn't been heard. And then HR 1976, how long has that been in the works?
Similar, this version was introduced, I believe, earlier this year, but previous legislation, I believe, has also been introduced. So
yeah,
neither of these bills, I think, are currently slated for committee hearings.
So the thing is, our relationship as a city with our healthcare providers is pretty deep. And we lean on them for a lot of investment in the city. We lean on them for millions of dollars to help us address homelessness. One healthcare provider is looking to build about $1 billion hospital in our city, which can have tremendous economic benefits for the region. And so it's problematic to me to support a resolution when our partners are supporting the city, and yet it would change their business model. Now, personally, I like the idea of single payer healthcare, but it will be a very seismic change countrywide, and it will be a very difficult transition, I think. Considering where these both bills are at this time, I would say that I would probably not support voting for this resolution, because it seems to me it really flies in the face of our relationship with people that we rely on in many, many ways. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Harris. Councilmember Vang, Councilmember Guerra after that.
Thanks, Mayor Steinberg. I just want to take this opportunity to thank all the callers that called in. Also want to thank Councilwoman Valenzuela for bringing this to law and ledge and moving it forward to council for full consideration. You know, I think if it wasn't clear before, it should be now more than ever, especially during a pandemic. You know, so many of our families have lost their jobs during the pandemic, resulting in loss of health insurance. Because as you all know, healthcare is very tied to jobs, to their employers. And this has led to more folks, more of our residents in Sacramento being able to seek medical care because of costs. You know, as a country, we actually pay more per capita than every other country, twice as much on average, but we still have worse health outcomes, lower life expectancy, high infant maternal mortality, and even higher rates of chronic illness. And as a school board member, I will share firsthand, you know, I saw how districts and unions were and continues to be pitted against each other over healthcare costs. We're literally sacrificing the health of our employees and the resources for our students inside the classroom, when really we all should be harnessing our energies to address the larger systemic issue of not having health care for everyone in this country. And, you know, I made my commitment as an organizer when I became a school board member, and even now as a councilwoman, that we have to keep fighting until we have health care as a human right for every single individual, unhoused folks, every child, every family member, every Sacramentan. You know, our health, your health, our community's health is only as safe and healthy as our neighbors who don't have access to health care. This is the reason why it's so important that I think this council takes a bold and aggressive stance on this resolution. And I really urge my colleagues to support this. While folks may think it's not within our jurisdiction, I think as local leaders, it's really important for us to make a statement and to really fight for healthcare for all. And so with that, Mayor, I actually like to make a motion to move item 3.
All right. Thank you. Let's see if we get a second here. I'm sure you will. Councilmember Guerra, and then I'm going to say something.
Great, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I one personal family experience of what it's like to not have health insurance and to go through without having access to health care. And many of our family members, including myself, are still, reeling with the effects of untreated illnesses or untreated injuries because of that. And so, I think like Councilmember Harris said, this issue at the national level, at the federal level, about having a single payer health system is a very popular one because of the ability to try to address those. But I won't be supporting this here today because for more of a practical matter here as well. I mean, we could spend all night today arguing and debating the benefits or the circumstances of this proposal. But we're 3 blocks away from the legislature. There are other cities around us as well. Today could be this piece of legislation. There'll be multiple pieces of legislation. And so, that's why we have a policy platform that helps us guide through the process and making sure that when we take positions, we have our staff that are working on them because these bills change periodically and we keep that in our platform. And so I think, I know in the past we rejected other members from taking a position on a bill because it wasn't in our policy platform. And that's why we take the time to develop and create that process. So I think it becomes a slippery slope when we start entertaining a number of pieces of legislation that aren't within our purview, and we become a de facto hearing body because we're so close. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Schenirer.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a tough one because clearly for me, the right to healthcare is really important. And I think everyone should have it, and it costs everyone in many, many ways when people don't have it. I do think that it's worth a lot more discussion by this council about where we get involved and what we get involved with. I'm not going to support this resolution because I do think that process-wise, we do have partners in the city and should have those roundtable discussions with them as we think about issues that are this significant as we move forward. I appreciate the fact that this is before us. I appreciate that. I'm assuming it will pass, and hopefully it will prod the legislature move forward. But I would hope that having it not pass unanimously also prods the legislature to bring other partners to the table as we think through this and try to come up with some solutions. Like many things, I think we all want to get to the same place. The same place is healthcare for all. But how we do it, I think we might have some differences here.
Fair enough. Can I go next, Councilmember Valenzuela, and then I'll let you close?
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. I have supported Medicare for all and voted for it at least 5 times during my tenure in the legislature, including when I was pro tem, and I intend to support it tonight. I want to say that we have at least 4 leading healthcare systems in our region, which are major community leaders and do a great job serving millions of people in our city and in our region. And this resolution, I know it's not intended by Councilmember Valenzuela, it's not intended by me, in proudly voting yes, as a poke or a shot at them. This is philosophical, and it's an aspiration. I know the legislature a couple of times, actually, this bill made it all the way to Governor Schwarzenegger's desk and he vetoed it. A couple of times it did not make it through the entire legislature. I think it's an aspiration and a very important aspiration, and it raises a very important question of whether someday the people would be better served by an integrated healthcare system where government was accountable, not health insurance companies. And when you really think about it, Medicare for all would not, in theory, or I think even in practice, wipe out or set aside our very good healthcare systems in this region area. We're talking about the insurance companies, because our systems, to varying degrees, all of them provide Medicare and Medicaid for people, for seniors, and for lower income people. And so this is about, from the way I've always viewed it, about the insurance companies, not necessarily the providers. I just want to make one other editorial comment, that I know this is an aspiration because I know what goes on in the legislature. I know the composition of the legislature. I know that it probably isn't going to pass in the next year or 2 or 3, but it might. But if this is a prod to all the people who are passionate behind this cause, if you wanted to start somewhere and really get this done and make it happen, I would start with mental health, because there is no greater example of fragmentation in our healthcare system that cries out for the need of a single integrated system. It's horrible. If you have private insurance, you're going to get one level of care and coverage. If you have Medicaid or Medi-Cal, you're going to get another array of services. If you don't qualify for either, but you're in the public system, you're going to get something sometimes even better. You're going to get wraparound services, which you can't get under Medicaid or under private insurance where you need it. And I just think the fragmentation in that system is so profound that if you really wanted to start and show how it could work, and I would start with mental health. And that's just a little suggestion and a little bit of prod. But I think this is a very important aspiration. And yes, we can't take up everything at the city council, as Eric Guerra points out, in terms of legislation. But sometimes, especially with a member pushing hard on one of 9 pushing hard on a measure, it's worth hearing, and let the votes be where they may. I'm going to vote for it. And again, I vote yes with the greatest regard and respect for our healthcare systems here in Sacramento, because they're doing good work, great work, especially over this last year and a half. So let's go. Let's get on record here. All right, Councilmember Valenzuela.
Mayor, can I sneak in between you?
Oh, yes, Mayor. Go. Yeah.
Is that okay, Councilmember Valenzuela? Let you have the final say here.
Sure.
All right.
Go ahead.
Sometimes parts of your life collide and it puts you in a tricky spot. But here's what I've thought a lot about how to handle this issue here at the council tonight. Obviously, in other parts of my life right now, I'm being asked a lot about this question. But you know what? Two things can be true at the same time. And I think that's really important in tonight's discussion. We're not the California State Legislature, we're the Sacramento City Council. And our vote tonight doesn't pass the legislation as it's written and authored right now. Our vote tonight says, or at least the way I read it, our vote tonight says to our legislators, hey, we think this is a really important issue. We know it's not going to turn out exactly as it's written right now. We'd like to encourage you to keep working on it because while it may be aspirational, we think it's really important for everyone to have access to healthcare. So for me, it may surprise some of you, I am a yes vote on Councilmember Valenzuela's resolution tonight. And I do encourage our legislators to just keep talking about it. Get us to a place where it actually is attainable. Because I do think there are problems in the parameters here. And I'm really glad that our staff included the federal legislation. Because if it had just been the state, it wouldn't be fair. We can't solve this problem just as a state. Just like we can't solve this problem only as a city. As Councilmember Valenzuela said, she sat on a truck for 24 hours. We can't do it all by ourselves. And neither can the state of California. As big as the state of California is, we need the United States of America to decide that access to healthcare for all is a really important goal. And then when they do, then we can get there. And so for me, I think that's more than aspirational. I think it's important for my corner of this, Mayor. I'm going to stand with you.
Good deal. Thank you so much. Councilmember Valenzuela.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Mayor and Councilmember Vang. And I just want to answer some points about process here because we take positions on legislation all the time. And this is something that often happens on email behind the scenes. Hey, this lines up with the agenda. Do you object or not object? And we send letters. They're usually signed by Jay because he's the chair of Law and Ledge. So this originally started as me submitting this to Law and Ledge to say, can we take a position on this legislation? And it was denied. It wasn't a yes, it wasn't a no. It said this is outside the platform. And so then I was told, okay, if you want to try to do this, go to council. So I made a motion at council. It was deemed we needed to go to the log. So we voted on this, to put it on the log. Then I got sent back to Law and Ledge, which is the place where we have these sort of policy discussions, which I was totally fine with because that's what I wanted to do in the first place. We had a hearing at Law and Ledge. It was publicly noticed. We voted on it then. This is the third time as a body that we've had this in front of us. And so while I have all respect for process and making sure we don't overstep lines and that we're doing things properly, I must object in this case because we have gone through every hoop and we've gone back and forth to get this resolution to this point. And so I want to make sure that we're also not being hypocritical in a way by saying that we want a process to happen when we went through every step for months to get to this point where we could just vote on taking a position on a piece of legislation. So I think the supporters of this have been more than helpful and patient. They have answered every question we've had. They have pushed the information out to the community. They have talked to me a bunch of times. I'm sure they've tried to talk to a lot of you to answer your questions about things like the legislative process. This is the key point in a 2-year bill because 2-year bills have to move in January. So this is actually the time for us to take a position on a state bill like 1400. And so I really hope that you will consider taking a position to support this. This is critical for our community. This is something our community is asking us to do. And I really think it does mean a lot. It means a lot as the capital city. It means a lot as a city where the entire legislature lives for 2/3 of the year. And I think it can have a real impact on the conversations that are happening right now. So I urge a yes vote and thank you for the time and consideration.
All right. Thank you very much. There was a motion. I didn't get a second. I assume Councilmember Valenzuela, you'll second the motion.
Sure. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Very good. And by the way, after this, remind me, I need to go back to the consent calendar. Well, I need to go back to the remainder of the consent calendar for a moment. So let's call the roll on item number 3, please.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Ashby?
Yes.
Councilmember Loloee?
Aye.
Councilmember Harris?
No.
Councilmember Valenzuela?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Schenirer?
No.
Councilmember Guerra?
No.
Councilmember Jennings?
Great discussion, guys. You really have helped inform me a lot. I'm voting yes.
Councilmember Vang?
Yes.
And Mayor Steinberg?
Yes. All right. The motion passes. Thank you very much. That's excellent. I think on the remainder of the consent